Good morning, everybody. To everybody, good morning. How are you guys doing this morning? How is everybody? How is everybody? Do me a favor, invite somebody, share. Invite somebody, share. It's about to go down. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. How about that? Invite somebody, share, please. So this morning we're talking about giving a correct apology. Paula Tarver, so good to see you, Paula. So good to see you. Can't wait to see you on Sunday too. We're gonna have a glorious time. So the whole purpose and intent of an apology is to communicate the remorse for the way something was done or the way something was handled. And an apology basically says, hey, if I can do this over, I would definitely do it differently. That's what an apology is for. It's a change of mind. It's a change of heart. Hey, I apologize for the way that I spoke to you. Meaning, if I could go back to this situation, I would speak differently. Apology says, I was wrong. That's the purpose of the apology. An apology is not to make the perpetrator feel better. It's really for the victim. Dana Nisi, good to see you this morning. Nick and Nicole Mitchell, good to see you as well. So the apology is for the one who was served incorrectly. The apology is for the victim. And there are victims of circumstance. They're victims of conversation. It's so many ways. Tina White McPherson, good to see you. It's so many different ways we can be wrong, right? On yesterday, I was in a conversation with someone and I overspoke. And what I mean by overspeaking is that they were not finished with their statement and I cut across them to say something else. And I digress. I say, hey, excuse me for doing that. I'm sorry. I wanted to hear you out. I'm sorry. But I got excited in the moment and I had the answer and I wanted to share. However, me sharing came at the expense of cutting them off, which robbed me of the opportunity to hear what was being said and robbed them of the opportunity to say it, to speak their heart. And that's what conversation is all about. Conversation is conversing. It's not one-sided. Some people, the only reason they communicate with you is they want to be heard. And you generally, to be honest with you, you know who those people are because you can't get a word in when you're on the phone with them, when you're talking to them. You can't get a word in. Pastor Wayne Benedict, good to see you, brother. My baby sister is on Rashandia McIntyre. You all pray for her, but encourage her this morning. That's your daughter. Love you, man. All right. So a lot of people communicate to be heard. There's two sides to a conversation. If it's two people or three people, it's three sides. And if we're going to communicate effectively, then I have to hear what you are saying. You have to hear what I am saying. And that's what makes conversation. All right. Now, there are some apologies that are given, for instance, and I've been here, maybe some of you can attest to this as well, where someone has brought something to my attention that I did a while ago. And maybe it could even be a month ago. And I can't recall. In that case, the apology is, I am so sorry if I offended you. The offense becomes the subject. It's not necessarily where, if I can remember, the first thing that I have to do if I offended you is my aim or my goal is to not be offensive. So I'm apologizing if I was offensive, but I want you to know the intent of my heart, because I know me better than anybody. I don't go around turning over tables and messing with folk and just willfully and intentionally and knowingly kicking over tables. That's not it. I will speak truth, and that truth will turn over tables. But even in speaking truth, it has to be done two ways. I say it all the time. We have to watch our timing in communication as well as our tone. So there's a level of meekness that we need even in communicating truth. There's a level of meekness that we should have and that should be put on display when we are communicating. The apology is for the offense. Now, if I do not remember the offense, I cannot take back what I said. I can't even regret what I said because I don't remember, but I can regret for how it made you feel, because that was not my intent. Now, you bring a situation to me and I'm able to recall it, recant it. I know what I said. Then I'm able to give more detail. A lot of times offense is taken because of where our mind is. When I am in work mode, I am probably just black and white. My nephew is on. Jared King, CF Freeland. That's my nephew. I love him much. No, I'm proud of you, Jared. And I believe that greatness is before you. And I believe that you're going to do what hasn't been done. I really believe that. You're a creative genius. You're gifted. You are anointed. And I love you, boy. Mr. Cal Walton II. Apologies. Apologies. Cal says that apologies lose value over time. Apologies should be made within 24 hours. And I'm glad you said that, because I want to address that. But I want to hit that after I finish this point. So the point that I was making in terms of the apology, if something was said or done and I know, I'm aware of it, you bring it to my attention, then I'm able to give you my heart behind the situation. We can't just take what a person says and judge that, right? We have to take who they are. We have to take that in consideration. We have to take the situation itself in consideration. And there are a multiplicity of things that have to come together for us to properly evaluate situations. For instance, Cal is a dear friend. He is a dear brother. I love Cal. Cal, I'm telling you, we've become family. If Cal says something to me, even if I don't like what he is saying, when I run what he is saying against who he is, me understanding who he is automatically put what he says in proper perspective in most cases. He's not an offensive person. He wouldn't hurt a fly. He's a great-hearted individual. So if he says something that is out of pocket, or he says something that is out of line, because I know his heart, I don't misinterpret his actions. Because I'm running what is said against the person that said. And a lot of times, against the person who says it. A lot of times we are so emotionally driven We're driven by emotions to the extent that no matter what is said and no matter who says it, instead of bouncing it off the heart of the person that said it, we bounce it off our emotion. And because we're highly emotional or highly sensitive, Sunshine 1113, good to see you. Because we're highly emotional or highly sensitive, we automatically take offense because of the emotion that rises based on what a person has done or said. And that's not fair. It's not fair and it's not right. You have to measure what is done and what is said against the character of the person, against the heart of the person. I've said this before and it's worth repeating. When you understand a person's heart, you never misinterpret their actions, right? And the only way I can understand a person's heart is that there has to be some level of relationships. Now, if there is no relational component that I can bounce against what I can't, because I don't have relationship, I can't bounce what they've done or what they said. I can't bounce it against them because I don't know them. Then I have to bounce it off the pure intent of my own heart. And I have to say to myself, I don't think they meant any harm. I don't. And I have to give them grace. When nothing is said, how can you assume? When you don't know, how do you assume? So now we're dealing with who you are. A negative person assumes negatively. A positive person assumes positively. So if something is said or done and you're a negative person as it is, you're going to automatically take offense, even if the intent of what was said or done wasn't to offend you. You're going to take offense because that's who you are. If something is dead or said, done or said, we don't know the intent, then we run it through our own attention. I'm a positive person, so I don't take offense to stuff that people say. I don't. Sometimes it leaves me in Hanland. I call Hanland when a person says something to you, you be like, huh? Like, I don't understand. That's not negative or positive. It's blank. It's I don't understand. Latasha Nicole Demps, so true. And it's something we must practice, taking control of these emotions. That's right, Tosh. So I'm gonna try not to assume, but if an assumption is made, I'm generally going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt because there's always a small window of what if that I am willing to place my hat on, then be so ready to accuse you and go against my positive nature in terms of who I am. I don't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? So rather than y'all give me a sec. Okay. Rather than accuse you, I'm going to think the best about you. And if I don't know what it is, I'm going to still believe the best and try and get some level of understanding. All right. So now that I've got that out of the way, let me move into part 2 of apologizing correctly. I willfully do something, or I know that something has offended you, right? It becomes my responsibility to apologize to you and get this thing correct, get this thing right. If I do something, it offends you, and I know it offends you. Or even if I don't know whether it offended you, I know I did it from a negative place. You see the two sides of that coin? Let me say it again. If something is done, if I do something, I become the perpetrator and I do something to you that I know hurt your feeling or it was offensive to you, it becomes my responsibility to apologize, because this is willful. You know, you did something I ain't like, so I said something or did something, but I still owe you an apology. The other side of that is if I do something to you, say something to you, even if it was not done with the intentions to hurt you or offend you, once you tell me, hey, I'm offended by that, it becomes my responsibility to deal with the offense. Now, sometimes good people say the wrong thing. Sometimes good people do the wrong thing, and we're not aware. So it becomes your responsibility, if a person offends you, to address it and bring it to their attention. A good-hearted person doesn't mind apologizing, because it's never our intentions to hurt you or to be offensive. Now, if I do something to willingly offend you, willingly hurt you, and then I come back and this is how I apologize. Well, if I did something that you were offended by, I'm sorry. That's not an apology. I see an unknown user from Facebook. Good morning. Glad you stopped in. Is that James Ross or is that somebody else? That's not an apology. You knew the person was offended. You knew you were wrong. It could be either or the same as. And you say, if I offended you, I'm sorry. The only time you apologize with if maybe you've heard something or a person, they start acting differently towards you and you're not sure. So if becomes a word you use because you're trying to address something and bring peace to something, but you're not fully aware if this is the case. So I say, hey, if I offended you, if I did something wrong, I'm really sorry. I apologize. Because, and the reason I'm apologizing, you're moving differently. You know, our chemistry is off. We used to gel a little better than this, and it seems to me that there's either some tension or friction, and I want to address that. So the way that I address that is I come in with a humble heart, asking mercy. Hey, if I did anything to you, I am so sorry. But when I know I've done something wrong, and if becomes a part of my subject of addressing, that's not an apology. You can keep that. You're wasting my time. You're wasting their time as well. Pastor Andre Carlos Cooper. What's up, bro? He says, good morning. My wife said that type of apology is an epic failure, indeed. It does nothing. Oh, y'all got to pause for a second. My aunt is on, my mom's sister, my Aunt Rose. Y'all say good morning, Aunt Rose, and give my aunt a hand. That's my sweetheart. Aunt Rose, I'll be there before the month is out to check on Kevin. So when I know I've been wrong, when I know because sometimes we get in our feelings or sometimes we get upset, we say things, we do things to intentionally offend people. When that is the case, I have to come to you and talk about the offense. Terry Cooper, That's right. Thank you for telling my aunt, hey. Y'all tell my aunt, hey, now, come on. If it was your auntie, y'all. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. It is very important that my family knows how special they are to me. It's very important that you know how special you are to me. So when I've done something, and I'm trying to think of a scenario. I remember one time, me and a guy, we were playing basketball. It was a group of us. And the guy kept fouling me. He was fouling me. Fouling me. I'm sorry. He was fouling me intentionally. And it got to the point where I was ready to throw hands. Oh, yeah. 5-fold ministry. I got 2 of them. 5-fold here, 5 here. 10-fold. I was about ready to put these hands on him. This is a real story. And he said something like, this is a man's game and it's not made for girls. And he pushed me. Well, in the moment, and I'm not proud of this, I'm not going to tell you everything I did, but I said some things to him concerning some stuff that I knew about him. And it was the intention behind it was to hurt him and let him know that little stuff you talking ain't nothing. And I dug deep, you know. He had gone to jail for embezzlement. And my response to him after he said it was a man's game, the game wasn't meant for girls, what I said to him was, the only girl on the court is you. You can't tell me you've been in prison all this time and ain't nobody touch you. But I'll be the girl since that makes you feel better. Oh, I went deep. Petty. Some years ago, but I still did it. That angered him to the point he stopped the game. And he told me, hey, man, don't say nothing to me. I won't say nothing to you. And my response to him was, it ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun. Now, as long as you were hurling insults at me and I was taking it, you were fine. I say, but I knew this would get you. Next time you come on the court, take your slip off. Oh, yeah, I was petty. Long story short, we got in a fight. I won. I beat him down because he couldn't handle the language. And I'm always amazed at the people that can start fires but can't handle a fire. Now, you don't need to give it if you can't take it. But I was wrong. I was. I had a serious problem back then. And my problem was, if you come for me, I'm going to kill a gnat with a sledgehammer. Yeah, there ain't no fair fight to me. You swing on me with your hand, you might get stabbed in your chest. I don't believe in fighting fair. I believe in getting an advantage. And that was the attitude behind the stuff that I said. So, of course, we went back to playing basketball. He left, and me and my crew, we kept balling. By the time the game was over, I was feeling bad. I went low, and I didn't feel good about it. I embarrassed him in front of everybody. And some of you might say, like some of the guys on the court, well, he asked for that. Because a person goes low, that does not merit you meeting them where they are. I think this world has, it's been so unfair in terms of how we relate to each other. You don't do it to people because they do it to you. We've got to stand higher than that. We've got to be bigger than that. And we have to keep ourselves in a position where we are so disciplined that people don't have the key to tick us off. Now, that's a whole nother conversation. Most of the stuff that we are offended by, we are offended because we're sensitive to that. And when a person can offend you, they have power over you. So there's a part of you that has to recapture you and grow to a point that no matter what they say, you aren't offended by it. However, when I went to the guy to apologize, it was a real story, true story. I went to him and I said, hey, man, that stuff I said on that basketball court, I shouldn't have said that. I was trying to get back at you because you said something I didn't like, but I had no right. I had no right. That was terrible of me. It was a bad example. It's definitely not the true representative of what a Christian is. And I have no excuses. I'm sorry, brother. Will you forgive me? And he talked to me about some things. Now just think about this. If I go to him and I apologize, hey, really, to be honest with you, I really don't owe you an apology, but I'm going to apologize because had you not said what you said, I wouldn't have said what I said. So you actually triggered that in me. And I wouldn't have said it had you not. That's not an apology. You can't come to apologize, then turn around and attack the person you're apologizing to and making them the blame for what you did. The whole purpose of an apology is to take responsibility for your actions. You can't take responsibility and make excuses, but should never be in an apology. I apologize, but the only reason I did that, no. In some cases, here's how apologies should go. I'm so sorry I did that. I am. I'm sorry I hurt you. I'm sorry I offended you. I was terrible in that moment. I've got a lot of growing to do. And I'm committed to growth. But this situation helped me see where I am. I'm not there. And what I am going to do moving forward is put together a plan of action, not only to become better, but to make sure I don't put myself in proximity of other people where I can hurt them the same way that I've hurt you until I can get myself together. So in this particular area right here, I am off limits to people because I was horrible. I made a horrible choice and it came from a horrible place. And I'm so sorry I offended you. Take responsibility. Own your mess. When you're the perpetrator, you can't go get an apology and you be the one to preach grace. And it's levels to this. It's levels to it. For instance, if a spouse is unfaithful to their spouse, well, the apology extends far beyond your words. Because while I can forgive you for cheating, you've damaged the trust that I have. So moving forward, it's not that I'm bringing your past up. I don't trust you anymore. And however long you was cheating, you should at least give me that length of time to rebuild my trust in you. You've been cheating 3 years. I need 3 years before we can establish maybe what we've had. Now, it may not take that long. But the offender, the perpetrator, cannot control the outcome. You don't get to come and give an apology and quote scriptures. You no, sir. No, ma'am. You don't get to do that. You don't get to tell me, well, I need you to have the same grace on me that God had on you. You can't step on my toe, then turn around and regulate my scream. This is one of the problems that I have with white America when it comes to racism. You want to be judge and jury for the sins you created. Black folk do it too. Matter of fact, humans do it. So I'm not just pinning it on one race. We do it to each other. You can't Give me time. Give me time to process scripture. Give me time to heal. Give me time to talk with God. And while I'm healing, you better not do anything of sort that resembles the offense. You need to be walking in meekness, humility, because being that you were the problem, you do have a responsibility that goes beyond your words apology. You have to now help me heal because you're the one that caused the offense. It's like if you accidentally cut someone or stab someone. Well, you don't sit there and let them bleed to death and say, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do it. Even if it was an accident. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do it. I got caught up and I saw you as the enemy and I cut. Now they're bleeding out. No, the correct way to fix that situation, you go get some bandages, get some clean water, get some get whatever you need that's going to help heal the wound. And while you are verbally apologizing, your actions complement what you say. So that may mean if I'm the one that cheated, that may mean all of my female friends may be off limits. That also mean I may not be trusted to have a cell phone and talk in private. That may require her coming in. Who you talking to? It may require her going through my phone, my emails. It's going to require a level of transparency so that I can help heal her so the trust can be restored. We don't want to talk about that. You want to be the offender and judge. You want to judge how we execute justice. Pastor Mark Dickerson, how you doing? It's Pastor Mark. He called me. I'm gonna call him back because I've been trying to reach him. I've called him for 2 days, text him. He finally texted me back last night, but I didn't like that I went 2 days and he didn't respond. So now he's not going to answer because he knows I'm going to put him on the spot. Yeah, he's a smart guy. It's not going to stop me from doing what I'm going to do, but he's a smart guy. So there's a level of sensitivity that we have to have when we've offended people. And just because you give an immediate verbal apology, that's not all. Now your actions has to reflect what you said. Go the extra mile. And it shouldn't be used as a tool of manipulation to control you or anything like that. Now, if you're doing that, that's a heart issue. But what I'm saying with my actions is I'm remorseful. I'm sorry for what I did, and I respect your space. If you don't want to see me or be around because you need that time in that space, it's my responsibility to find me somewhere to stay, communicate with you, and have an open relationship with you, because my job is not to just apologize. My job now becomes to help you heal, because I am the one that violated. See, we want to receive forgiveness and move on in a moment. But you've been offending people for years. Your behavior has caused so much damage. And I'm not saying, even when a person releases it, they release you, It takes time for restoration. Restoration doesn't happen overnight. And depending on how deep the relationship is, that literally negates the length of restoration. Stanley Black, good to see you, bro. Andrea Mitchell, good morning. So we can't just say, hey, I'm sorry, and expect an immediate resolve. It doesn't happen that way. I need time to process this. And the offense does determine the length of restoration. In some cases, I may never be able to trust you again. So forgiveness does not remove consequences. Let me give you an example. You break the law. You break into somebody's bank and you steal their money, and they say, you talk about apostle. I took your license. Your behavior on social media has been piss poor. Check yourself. If you're going to represent the kingdom, do it right. Anyway, you break into a bank, and the owner of that bank or the board of that bank forgives you. That doesn't stop the consequences of you going to jail. You've been released. They're not holding it against you, but the consequences of those actions, you're going to jail. You're going to suffer those consequences even though you're forgiven. Even with God, listen to this, even with God, he forgives us, but forgiveness does not necessarily constitute the exemption of consequences. There's a whole lot of stuff I've done in my life that the Lord has released me from, but I had to suffer the consequences. So the consequences of our actions a lot of time put people in a dark place, and we have to wait until that process has been served. They're hurt. And this is why we have to be careful about what we do and what we say. Because once again, you can't step on my toe and then regulate my scream. You step on my toe and then tell me, stop screaming like that. Who the heck are you? Don't step on my toe. It hurts. And we respond differently. We do. We respond differently. So if I'm going to be adequate in my apology, I have to be accurate in my response. Love says, I'm going to give you some time. Just let me know when you're ready. They can hit the ceiling, especially in marriage. You know, them women, boy, they hit the ceiling. I've seen it. I've had the opportunity to counsel people and just kind of walk people through the process. When I was married, at heart, I wasn't faithful. I wasn't. I was younger, of course, but youthfulness is not an excuse, but ignorance is a reason. And being young and ignorant, there were just some things I didn't know. And I was entertaining stuff in my heart, in my mind, that violated the covenant of marriage. You have to give people time to deal with the offense. And just because you can deal with it in a moment, that doesn't mean they can. That's what I got for you this morning. Don't push people that you've offended to readily receive your your apology. It's not up to you. I may not I may not accept it. That's between me and God. If I tell you, get out my face, leave me alone, you've done your part. Look at my sweetheart. Deidre Mercer is on. She says, I love that. Youth isn't an excuse, but ignorance is. That's exactly right. You know, when I was married, it's been so long ago, literally over 20 years. I didn't know, let's use this for example, that thinking about Sanaa Lathan inappropriately is not on. Well, I didn't know it was a sin. If I was less than half, I didn't know it was a sin. I did know that it was a sin to God, right? But I didn't know that it was also a transgression of iniquity in my heart against the covenant of marriage against my wife, because there's a space in my heart and my mind that is reserved for her only. And I should not be entertaining conversations, thoughts, anything with anybody else other than my wife. My wife has to occupy my total being. That's being faithful. A lot of people want to leave faithfulness. You want to leave that on the altar of what is done in action. But Jesus cleaned that up. He corrected that. He said, I said to you before, whosoever sleepeth with his neighbor's wife has committed adultery. He said, but I say to you today, if you're thinking in your heart, you done the same thing. Andre Carlos Cooper. Yes, sir. I had entanglements in my mind. Several. And I'm not boasting or bragging about it. God knows I'm not. And it's not cute and it's not funny. But I was ignorant. I was telling the Lord I was sorry. I can tell that woman. And this is one of the reasons conversations have to be had. Useful conversations should be had so that people can be enlightened, because you don't know what you don't know. But I want you to know that's being unfaithful too. If you're with someone, you're married to someone, and you're entertaining someone else goes beyond sexual advance. It may not be sexual. It could be intellectual. You're getting some thrill because you like the level of intellect that this person brings, right? So you start disclosing things to that person, things that are intimate, things that are private intellectually. That, sir, ma'am, that space belongs to your spouse. And you say, well, they don't think on my level. Well, you married them, deal with it. Educate them or keep it to yourself. That's not an excuse. I'm going to give you this last thing. Did you not know to do wrong has to be justified in our heart, in our mind. It has to pass the gateway of justification. You can't just do wrong. There's a reasoning in the mind, and there's a way that we have to excuse it. And it has to be right to us before we do it. Because without justifying it, we won't do it, because we were not created to do wrong. I'll wait. And you can justify multiplication. Well, I'm just trying to get information because this information is crucial to the development of justified however you want. It's wrong. And we're good. We're good. We're good at passing the meter of justification. Here's where self-deception comes in. You've passed, you justified it to yourself, you've executed, and now you've convinced yourself it's right. That is when self-deception begins. And you live in that place. You live in that place with no accountability. You live in that arena of your mind with those violations. You never correct them because you justified them. So now Your truth, your truth is contingent on your pleasure. So when people be telling you, no, I really believe this, they do. They not lying. They've been lying so long, they think their lie is the truth. Did you not know that your mind, your brain doesn't know the difference between you telling a lie and the truth? This is why OJ believed he didn't do it. I'm serious. You meet a liar and you leave the conversation. I can't believe they lie. They just lie so dumb. Why? You just sit up and make up lie. They don't. It started with one lie. It started justifying their wrong. They had no gateways or guardrails to help check them and hold them accountable. So their righteousness now has been built through the frame of a lie. So they live a lie. And they think it's truth. They really do. It's not a lie to them. And this is why it is imperative. Listen to me careful, and I'm ending here. You have people in your life that can tell you truth. And don't be so emotional ready to shoot them down to justify how you feel. That's what got you in the lie in the beginning. You're justifying it. You need somebody that, no, Pickett, I hear what you're saying, but you were still wrong. And for you be able to do that wrong and your Holy Ghost don't say nothing, that says that you're off the wall. Something's not right in your heart. Ignorance has been magnified in your heart, and you need the light of the truth to expose it and get it right before you can walk in truth. That's why it don't take much for a politician to lie. They become their own counsel. They become their own government. They're judging their own mind. And as a result of that, their lie has become their truth. This is why anything goes. I was on Facebook yesterday, and I'm looking at these church musicians use profanity in the open. One of them was talking about Pornhub and giggling and laughing and put a picture up there. And it was a picture of a porn star. And he said, Auntie got the goods. And it was funny. But let me tell you the sad part. There's nobody checking standards anymore. Like, you can literally do whatever you want to do because the lines have been blurred. And why it's acceptable in our society. Somebody needs to check that young brother, because, listen to me closely, if that's what he's doing privately and you've gone public with it, that's a gateway. You open up to all kind of stuff. And you ain't talking about auntie on Pornhub and being faithful to the person you're with. No, you with that person, but you thinking about auntie. And the danger of this stuff is now you start to lose desire for who you're with because you're chasing some illicit pleasure. And this illicit pleasure is literally an illusion. And when you chase illusions, you become delusional. Hey, that's coffee time. I'm going to be going back on radio, solidified some things on yesterday. I'm going to be telling you the stations. You hear that is? And times. You hear that is? Yeah, because we're not just going to go back on, but it's syndication as well. So that's a blessing that I'm excited about, and it's going to open up a whole lot of opportunity for a whole lot of people. There are so many voices that need to be heard. One of the voices that I'm behind her 100%, pushing her. I love her growth and her development. Her name is Raquel Hill. She's the wife of Javon Hill. She comes on sometimes, but we're trying to give God has other voices out here that are speaking to power in a mirage of ways, and they just need the opportunity. And that's one of the reasons I wanted this here, to give other people an opportunity. Anyway, thank y'all for tuning in. We're able to do what we do the way that we do it because of your love, because of your gift. If you can give into what we do, $ sponsor coffee time is the Cash App. Many people may say, well, what exactly do you do? We feed the homeless. We provide clothing for the homeless. We spend about over $1,500 to $2,500 a week, depending on the week, on just that. Coffee time is merged with Crazy Beans, which are the businesses that God has blessed me, and that's what we do. Also, when you give to Coffee Time, any equipment that we need, we're able to get it through your gift. This microphone is through your gift. This sound equipment, these lights, this entire studio is done because of your giving. You make this possible. The look that we have and have maintained for years is a result of your giving. So that's where your money goes. Does it buy me a car? No. House? No. But it serves what it's supposed to serve, and it helps who it's supposed to help. So I'm grateful for you, and I'm appreciative of you. This coming Sunday, it's family and friends at Encounter Church. And I need all of you all that are on Tasha Demps, Jamie John. Well, Jamie's out of town. I need you. That's right, Michelle. Crazy Beans also sponsored John E. Ford PTA. We're part of that. We also support the Edith Marie Foundation, Crazy Beans, as well as Coffee Time. We help people that have cancer. We pay their bills. We help pay their bills while they can get their treatments. So Coffee Time goes a long ways and help serve our community. They've partnered, of course, with Encounter Community. We're going to be talking more about Encounter Community because there is a transfer that's getting ready to happen. There's a merge where we're going to take Coffee Time, Encounter Community, and then merge those together. We'll talk more about that in the days to come. But that's where your gift goes. Thanks for your love. Thanks for your support. Thank you for being you. Thank you for trusting me. Here's the beauty about you trusting me, trusting my voice. Many of you know the things that I've had to grow through. I've been extremely transparent and vocal about my issues. Why? Because there was a time when I had issues and I thought I was the only one. God brought me out of that stuff. And he's still bringing me out of stuff. He really is. And I'm grateful to be alive. And I have no one to impress. There's a scripture that I think of all the time about. The scripture was about Jesus. It says this, and he made of himself no reputation. He didn't live through the opinion of people. I do think we ought to be concerned about our behavior. I think we ought to be concerned with our presentation as it relates to who we are. But I think we need to be more transparent about our issues so we can help other people rather than being translucent. But I do think there's a time that you share. I don't necessarily believe you open up and share when you're in the midst of sinking. Because your enemy wants to see you go down and will apply more pressure. So I think it's a time that you share as well. Anyway, thank you so much for your love and support. I appreciate each and every one of you. You're born to win, predestined to succeed. There's nothing that can happen to you today that the wisdom on the inside of you is not able to handle. You got to calm down, slow down, use emotional intelligence, trust God, and let wisdom speak. When wisdom speak, you will always win. Y'all go have a great day. Be productive and remember to think higher, speak life. Love y'all. And I mean that from my heart. Make sure you give.